Okay, this is part 5 of what it takes to live well. I'm going to examine the principle of having one's life as one's moral standard and how you can go from there down to the principle that virtue-based value seeking is necessary for a life well lived. Okay, and in the process of doing so, I'm going to have a list of some 5 universal values, and then I'm going to have a list of necessary virtues required by humans in order to obtain those values. Now, in some cases, with like an animal will not require the virtue. It won't be necessary for an animal to adopt a virtue in order to get a value, but it will be necessary for a human to do so. Okay, so I guess we'll start going down the list. The first universal value I mentioned is food. If you're a human being, you're going to need food. It's going to be of value to you. There are no exceptions. Okay. Now, being human is kind of special. It's different from being an animal. With humans, in order to continue to get food, you're going to need a virtue of productivity. Now, I define it here as a proactive interaction with the environment versus the reactive interaction to the environment that you see in animals. If you know it's raining outside and you go outside, you'll probably bring an umbrella. That's a proactive interaction. What you're about to do is you're going to adjust the environment, at least the environment immediately around you, by holding an umbrella over your head. And if you go back in the past, people, foreseeing that this situation will occur, that rain might happen, made umbrellas and sold them. And people, foreseeing that dryness might be a good thing in the future, bought the umbrellas. They valued the umbrellas and bought them. And so buying the umbrella, you altered the environment, at least the environment immediately around your body, so that when you're out in the rain, you're not getting wet. Humans or animals don't do that. Animals react. They may try to seek shelter from the rain, but they won't plan for the rain. They won't adjust. They adjust themselves to their environment, not the environment to themselves. So we'll actually alter our own environment in order to live well, where animals can just do it based on the tools that they've been given from natural selection. You know, some animals that are living in the environment of water will happen to have, like a fish, will happen to have gills which allow for the breathing underwater. They're already set up to deal with the environment they live in. For humans, we alter the environment we live in to make it set up for ourselves. So if we want to live and thrive, instead of fighting over food and stuff, and just devouring everything around us until there's nothing but empty space or a lot of blood from the fight, we do it differently. We exercise the virtue of productivity, which involves thinking ahead. The whole process of capitalism is basically the virtue of productivity writ large. It's basically, that's what we do. We produce values. Why? Because we needed to. Why? Because we're human. That's being different from being reactive or being like an animal. Okay, the next value is knowledge. I've got here, how do you get knowledge? Use the virtue of rationality. And I define that as a contextually proper mental focus. What I mean by that is, you could go for an hour or so during the day and just daydream or play a game on your computer or just drift off. But you shouldn't base your life around drifting off mentally, and you won't succeed by doing that. Instead, you should have a contextually proper mental focus. For instance, if you're on the freeway and you're going 65 miles an hour, it would be proper for you to pay attention to what's coming up ahead of you on the road. That's a contextually proper mental focus. And an improper focus would be to focus on your cell phone or something on the floor, or fiddle around, look backwards. There are many wrong ways to go about it, and then there's a rational way to go about it, and that's where you introduce the virtue of rationality. It's when you build a habit you habitually adjust your focus appropriately to the life circumstance. And it doesn't mean full 100% focus all the time. 100% rationality doesn't mean that. It means appropriate focus to the context. Okay? And that's how we get knowledge required for living. And then there's intimacy, and I've got the virtue of benevolence, and I define it here as a selfish but non-specific investment in others or in others' potential. Now, first thing I want to say is benevolence is not altruism. Altruism is a sacrifice for others, but it is not an investment. Authentic benevolence is an investment in the potential of others. And you, as a human being, get enormous value from others. This is what altruism denies. It'll say you have to invest not for what you'll get out of it, but simply to sacrifice. The sacrifice itself is what's moral or good, not what you're getting out of it. Benevolence or goodwill towards others, you have goodwill towards others because of what you can get out of it. If the devil were walking around on the planet and stubbed his toe and needed a band-aid, it would be altruistic to give the devil a band-aid at that time, but it wouldn't be benevolent because there's nothing you can get out of helping out the devil. He's just going to turn around and kill you or take your soul or whatever. His existence is about harming humans. That's his modus operandi is to create pain and suffering. So you adjust your investments smartly, and that's how you get to authentic benevolence, where you're giving things to people who can benefit you. Now, I don't mean there's a crass way of looking at that, like when you see the corruption in different, in like government and stuff, there's corruption, or business too, there's corruption. But there's an authentic benevolence that goes beyond the crass. Let's make a dirty deal under the table. It's more of a, I can see that you have potential, and I want to give some of my earned value to you, and hopes of, in the future I'm going to interact with you, and that's going to be cool, So benevolence is this forward-looking understanding of the potential of other human beings. Okay, it wouldn't work with the devil. He's not a great person. He's not a decent person with potential to benefit you. But many people are, and you have to make that decision in your life with what your own hierarchy of values. You're going to have to make some decisions. Well, I'm going to extend some help here because I see a great potential benefit to it. Okay, so even in emergencies, you might save people's lives, and that's because you have a benefit. You have a personal benefit of saving their lives. One, you can feel good about it, but two, you're going to get also some trade and knowledge and romance and all this other stuff from people. Being human involves acknowledging that other people are really cool. Okay. And then the next one is freedom from coercion. I've got here the principle of justice, and I'm using the Aristotle's view of it, which was treating only equals equally. And I have an example. Fruity pebbles versus actual pebbles. Let's say you were a parent making some cereal for your child. And you grabbed a box of Fruity Pebbles, and it was empty. But the kid's there, hey, I want my cereal. The kid's hungry. So what you do is you go outside, grab some actual pebbles, put them in a bowl with milk, and set that bowl in front of the child. And what you just did, you treated actual pebbles and Fruity Pebbles, they both have the same or similar names. But having the same name is not necessarily, doesn't make things equal. What makes things equal is what they actually are. And a pebble is different from cereal. It's not the same thing. And if you treat it the same way, there'll be suffering. In this case, it's the child with cracked teeth and shooting pain and having to take him to the hospital to remove the swallowed pebbles and bloody cracked teeth and stuff. You cannot treat unequals equally without creating a bad outcome. It is a virtue of justice to practice this discernment or judgment about the various things that you interact with in reality. You should be treating equals equally, but not unequals equally or equals unequally. What does that mean when we talk about human beings instead of pebbles? For human beings are equal. We should treat them equally. You should not treat a human being with coercion, and I've given examples of why you shouldn't do that, because they need to be productive. They need to be practicing productivity. They need to be practicing rationality. And when you treat them with force and coercion, you're undercutting those necessary needs that they have as human beings. So you can't simultaneously get, you can't get good things from slavery, for instance. A human being is not the type of creature that should be put in a cage or put on a leash, or there will be some things you should treat that way. Maybe wild animals that all they do is they have this great potential for harm. Those should be treated that way, but humans shouldn't be. And the virtue of justice tells you that you should treat the equal things in an equal way, and not an unequal way, where some humans have dominion over other humans. Okay, that would be an example of injustice, and no good can come from that. Okay, it's on average maladaptive to do that. And then the last one was high self-regard. We've got the virtue of pride, and I say it's the effortful desire for the best in all things, most especially your moral character and habits. You build character by the habitual actions that you take. If you characteristically lie or steal or cheat, you will build a moral character from doing that. And then you can alter your character toward the good if you take pride. If you effortfully desire the best in all things, especially your moral character, then you will turn yourself around from being a lowly criminal to someone who can walk around with his head held high, has gained the value of a high self-regard, has earned the sense of entitlement of what you can achieve in your life. Not a sense of entitlement of just getting things for nothing, but to achieve things, to own things, to build things, to grow, to develop relationships, basically to live well. Okay, by working on a proper pride, not the false pride of you pretending that you're the best or greatest, but the proper pride of knowing that you deserve to work for the best because of the habits that you've developed good habits, especially like telling the truth. You can develop the habit of honesty, and what do you get from that? Well, you get the trust of other human beings, and there's a lot of value that comes from that. When other people trust you, you can trade with them, and you get all the benefits of their intelligence and creativity and productivity. Well, not all of them, but you get you can share. That's how life gets better, is by working off of this basic element of trust between human beings. And pride is a way to get there by taking pride in things like your habit of being honest. You end up working for your own betterment and for the betterment of other people. Okay, thank you.